Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Thursday's edition, the Blitz. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stay tuned. Do not change your station nor your viewing angle. We are in control of your television set. The Blitz will return momentarily. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blitz. Today, we talk about happenings in our community. We talk about conspiracy theories, and whether they're true or not, how you can protect yourself. Now remember, if a conspiracy theory sounds kind of woohoo, then it probably is. And if the ways to protect yourself from said conspiracy theories sound equally woohoo, they probably are. With that out of the way, any and all are welcome up on my channel to talk and speak your mind. First conspiracy theory that I want to get to today is divisionary tactics. Folks have been doing the whole divide and conquer thing for centuries. But recently it's gotten slightly more close to home and more vindictive. I'm no fan of anybody getting up in anyone else's face. I'm gonna try not to. I'm not gonna say I'm not. I'm gonna try not to drop names here and get into the whole damn discussion about how things were going the other day. I just know some things just ain't exactly right, and it's not my place to make an opinion on it. Because I was either not present or not faculty appropriate. In other words, I probably had about like 3 or 4 beers. So I don't know what happened. And I'm not going to get into that. But I do know that what I'm talking about is enough to make my beard a little curlier. Anyways, so I was sitting and thinking, I was in what was that movie again? It's with John Leguizamo. It's the spoof parody on the Isle of Dr. Moreau. I can't remember what the name of it is, but where he's sitting there reading Mein Kampf. Father stopping on a Toiletheimer and a stinking and a farting and a Schmellenheimer. Like it runs through my head. Funny shit. Anyways, speaking of funny shit, there's some expected happenstances recently, and then there's some I say unexpected happenstances recently. These bastards have got us fighting each other. When the problem is that we don't need to be fighting each other. We need to be fighting them. We need to be coming together under the flag of unity. Not tear it into each other for nothing better than a mere comment made on a prior stream or personal felt slight. You know, words are one thing, actions are a total different story. And, you can scare people with your words, yes, but if you choose to act on those words, brother, there's no way that I could ever help to redeem you from that. And I hope you know who you are. And if you're watching this at a later date, much love, bro. But I don't know how you come back from that. That's why I try not to threaten people outright. I actually bite my tongue when it comes down to that because when I was younger, I would have. So there's some other things that have happened recently. Uh, I finished the PPG guard, sorta, and I say sorta because we are experiencing technical difficulties. Where did I stick that device? It's somewhere in this mess somewhere. Uh, well, I tell you what, give me 5 minutes and I'll find it because I want to show you all what I'm talking about. Hmm. Okay, folks, hold on just a second. There's the cam, and here's what we were talking about. I finished the old PPG guard to an extent, but there is an issue, and I want to show you that now. If you will look down this barrel, I don't know if you can see down that. I'm going to try and point it so that the light can actually catch. There's really, I don't even know if you can see that down there, but there's a slug down inside of there. There's, it got plugged up because I was sitting there testing it and failing to notice that there was a failure to feed issue. Here we go. So, there we go. There's the slug. There's the deformation you can see on the tip there. Failure to feed issue. So yeah, I got to do some scrubbing out of it. In other news, gun bills have been set forth and passed. Somber day in the World 2A. And a little bit more of the BLITZ here. Uh, yeah, well, I just don't know where to go from there, you know. It's just like, yeah, sure, they're only an assault weapons ban and a, in air quotes, assault weapons ban. Um, and what was the other one? Yeah, that's how insignificant it was. I don't remember it, but I remember that it was one where it was just a reintroduction of old legislature just to see what they could get away with. They were both a reintroduction of old legislature to see what they could get away with. And it's bothersome, in my opinion. So, what do you guys have to say? Go ahead and let me know in the comments because my internet kind of sucks. Otherwise, I probably already have at least one person up here. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting folks onto the interwebs, so give me a shout out in the comments. Let me see who you are. So other than the new gun bills, which is what I pay attention to, what do y'all want to talk about? This is the Blitz. There are no rules. Well, howdy do there, Stuart. Keep your eyes on the road, brother. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my internet. That's on my end. It's not you, bro. I'm fair certain. All right, I want to just showcase this one more time so people could actually understand. This is how sensitive this is, okay? Fingers going straight up. I barely even touched that. Man. Oh, I'd give anything for a platform that was made entirely of steel. Instead of specialized sintered metal, I tell you, because I don't give a hoot and a holler if it's the proper weight. I care if it'll actually do what it needs to do. And wow. This air pistol is a piece of shite. Well, at least the part that I didn't make. I'm joking, of course. Um, Walter, if you're hearing me on this, don't feel bad. I just, there's a lot of mechanical noise in this air pistol. And it's got a poorly chosen metal for the amount of mechanical noise. Okay. And by mechanical noise, I mean how many working parts are in motion during each trigger pull. If you've got a lot of parts moving, they need to be of a very high tensile strength material, whether that's spring steel or that's, um, high tensile strength plastics, certain types of polycarbonates, um, carbon nanoweave polymers, just anything but freaking sintered nickel, cadmium, lead, pewter crap stuff thing. I don't even know what to call this metal. It's that bad. I'm a no pull punches pulled kind of guy, and I'm gonna be dead serious about what I'm saying. This is the reality. If it wouldn't have been for a small piece, just one small piece breaking, well, a small piece and a big piece, we'll put it that way. This machine would run right and proper without a fail. And it wouldn't have broken in the place where it broke if it hadn't have been for the fact that I had to weaken it in that specific area in order to fit the magazine. So here again, it's not a question of the the amount of weight of the material. It has to do with the tensile strength of the material, and the tensile strength of the material is poorly lacking. So when it comes down to it, where the 200-pound gorilla meets the 1.5-pound piece of mechanical equipment, um there's a lot that can go wrong. So it could be a blessing, it could be a curse. Depends on how well you are versed in working metal. I'm pretty well versed, but I'm not the greatest. All right, and that's why I'm saying, I did what I could, and I'm pretty good. But it's really hard to work with that kind of metal. It really is. I was even thinking about putting like a rubber seal toward the back end of the magazine here, where you see, hold on. All right. You see where the brass piece is? I was thinking about putting an O-ring that goes around that, and kind of indented in there to kind of seal up the magazine, but I'm afraid of cutting the metal. That's how bad this is. I'm afraid to actually cut the metal because I don't know if it's just like a case annealed metal, or a self case annealing metal, or something like lead, self case anneals. So the inside structure is normally crystalline, but the outside structure is normally of a softer nature, kind of like mild steel is to high carbon steel. So I honestly, I'm doubtful now. I wasn't doubtful before because the mod that I made before, the this thing right here was okay. That thing right there was made out of rubber, so it kind of just self-sealed, but it got eaten up quickly, which was the other main issue. So there is that. Uh, that's why I was thinking, a placement point for putting a rubber seal in there might actually help to fix the problem. This thing could be a real pain in the butt to get back together because although all the parts fit anatomically correctly, it's a work in progress still. But the concept, the idea, all right, this is what I want Walther Umarex to focus on, is the actual concept and idea. It does work, okay? It can eject a projectile and at speed. So that's what everybody was wondering. Does it have the impetus? Does it have the speed? And by my calculations, it was moving faster than any arrow that I've ever seen. Okay, and that's saying something because I used to be an archer and do a lot of archery, so it's moving faster than any um, spring sent projectile. And to that effect, I can say it's doing at least 500 feet per second. Now, if it was doing any more than that, I'd probably observe like a swish thump instead of like a swish crack, which you get with supersonic, the swish thump that you get with transonic. So I'm I'm thinking it's right around the 500 feet per second range. So anyways, that's the 25 caliber PPG guard update. It works, by gods, it works. My creation, it is alive. So there is that one. Now, I'm trying not to get into too much of the drama of the crazy happenings of the last couple of weeks, but it's just like it's one of those. It's like an irritating itch you have to scratch. Ugh. No, 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 no. Must not give in to temptation. I'm sorry. It's like it's one of those things where, you hear somebody screaming at someone else and you're like, "Well, did I do something wrong?" You didn't do anything wrong, but you're sitting there thinking, but. You're going, I know I didn't do that. I'm not that kind of person. Wait, huh? I'll laugh at a good joke, but I won't. Wow. Damn. I feel kind of beamed out and butt hurt. Oh well, life goes on, right? That's what I'm thinking this whole time that I'm hearing over there on my buddy's channel is sitting there and listening to all this and just being like, come on, man. I'm trying to just run a stream that's not going to be such a beat down, drag out nightmare as the one I just left, and I just want to relax. And Stuart, you were there. You heard some of the shit. But yeah, man, it just gave me a whole new outlook on how, as grown men, let me put it this way. I myself, as a grown man, have acted more like a child than I ever did as a child. That's not to say every child is that way. I was the joker always getting beat up on, so I learned to bully the bullies back. Um, but that's just me. I am trying, my friends. Let me see if I can roly poly oly. 27%. LGE is absolute crap. Yeah, um, sorry for that. That's my truck telling me it shut off. Um, yeah, I was thinking about moving back for a few days from the internet, but I just, I know that probably where things are going to start is going to be in people's minds, and the battle for hearts and minds is where wars are won or lost. So, in the grand scheme of things, I can't really just walk away. I'd like to. I'd really like to. Yeah, I'm not showing any guests. Nobody vicious to come up and say hi. That or my internet's such crap. Ah, let me see here. If I shut that down, does it work? Does the others able to come on say? No? Missed question in mind. Well, now. See here, see, there's a few raw developments lately. And see, you wouldn't know all this. You're just sitting on your hunkers in Blythe. You're in the middle of BFE, freaking strategically nowhere. I mean, the whole point of coming to a place like Blythe is you're away from the fighting. Um, pretty much away from everything. Civilization is non-existent. So, way out here on the fringes of crazy, we're going to take a deep dive here. Because if my internet is such crap, yet these 5G LTE towers are supposed to make everything better, right? Even for the 4G users, supposedly. Um, I'm not experiencing better internet. Just saying. Which leads to a question. If these 5G towers are not adding to um, aid people, if it is not for a beneficial purpose, if they are not affecting their beneficial purpose, then crucially, do they have a nefarious purpose? And if so, what? So, since you're talking to the old caterpillar of Alice in Wonderland, of course, my hookah is a pipe. Yummy. Ooh, relaxing. So, let's see how far down this rabbit hole goes. Some folks say that 5G is not for the purposes we think it is, but rather that it is to confuddle the mind and destroy the body. Well, I'd say that it is pretty difficult already for me to focus. I'm Native American, so I inherently have ADD. Uh, or what's called ADD is simply just a survival mechanism in order to ensure progenation of a species. But I digress. So I have ADD, so focus is not my strong suit, as is what you are well aware. Um, so if these 5G towers are so bad, how is it that I can actually functionally and correctly hold a train of thought for the most part? Here's another one for you. If these 5G towers are such heinously destructive devices to our bodies, how is it that I am in good physical shape, barring the fact that I got stabbed in the fucking chest? I mean, for all rights and purposes, I should be dead. Yet I'm still kicking, breathing, and happy as can be. You know, for the most part, there are some things that irk me, but we're airing them out. So, um, so in all of this, I question the rationale of some of these very creative fix-its, homeopathic remedies for 5G exposure, when in all reality, the radiation isn't necessarily ionizing so much as it is converting radiation. Doesn't have to be ionizing in order to change an elemental property from one to another, and that can be proven with a simple experiment whereupon one takes table salt and water and vermiculite, and by changing the properties of the sodium chloride to sodium vermiculite, or also known as sodium pyrite, uh, you create heat. Heat is nothing but thermal energy, radiation. So, when it comes down to calculus and how it works, um, you should be able to pick apart a problem and put it back together, and it works the same way in all of its different forms. Uh, so say you've got your non-ionizing radiation, and you have sodium chloride, sodium chlorate, potassium iodide, potassium chlorate, um, calcium chloride, uh, calcium monohydrate, potassium monohydrate, all these different electrolytes on the surface of your skin. Um, Now, potassium, funny enough, can be converted to a radioactive substance via chemistry. It doesn't necessarily need to have a uh, per se a pre-existing radioactivity to become radioactive. So when you convert potassium, sometimes you'll end up with a small amount of, say, like potassium. I think it's called potassium 90, um, potassium 98. And what it does is it basically it's radioactive with a really freaking long half-life, a stupid long half-life. And basically what happens is that when it finally gives off its neutron and baryon and what have you, um, that can cause damage to the human DNA. Now, how hard is it to take a simple shower? And when you think about it, it's not that difficult. You step into the shower, you suds up, you rinse down, and you're clean. Um, some folks who are like me, who are a little bit more biologically witty, it takes, a good scrub. And when I say biologically witty, I basically mean that, you know that your biofilm is your first defense towards things like viruses and bacteria, virus and bacteria. Sorry. Um, so it's kind of like it's balancing itself out. Like if you are afraid of COVID, but you're not afraid of 5G, you probably won't take as many showers, and so you're not going to be worried so much about stinking around other people and whatnot. But if you take more showers because you're worried about 5G, then you are more susceptible to COVID. And it's this whirlwind of what could and could not be. Um, Now, interestingly enough, physics can get very weird. Okay, this is one of those quantum paradox things, um, wherein an atom can be in one place at one time and also be in another place at another time, and an atom can be one type of atom and be another type of atom at the same time. So if one type of atom were to be destroyed and turned and converted into energy, then the other atom would instantly convert into energy regardless of its makeup. So, your bonds, the quantum bonding process basically pointed out both of these possibilities as a reality. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's not too far of a stretch to say, okay, well, in that sense, certain salts, body salts, could become radioactive over time given enough radioactivity bombardment. And 5G isn't going to be the vast sum of that. You should already be, taking a shower often. Okay. My point is that 5G is not going to be as powerful as, say, the sun is. It's not going to be as powerful as, say, the transformer sitting outside of your house on a telephone pole. I mean, the reality is that the radiation coming off of them and all the, in the different spectrums is much more dangerous, much more hazardous, and in different ways too. So it's what a lot of people would equate as being highly dangerous. Yes and no. I'm still the jury's out on this one. Now, will I say that, given a certain high amount of body salts and a certain high concentration exposure to said microwave rays, would it? I mean, and it's on the high end of the microwave spectrum too, so it's not the low end where we use for cooking things. There's that, or vice versa. I get mixed up. I have dyslexia, people. Anyways, um, the point is that microwave band has two sides of it, just like all the different bands of all the different bands through the spectrum of light. Microwave band has a specific high and low frequency to it, and on the higher end, I believe, I might be wrong, it might be vice versa. Um, there is a less likelihood of cooking things, like using water molecules to vibrate them very quickly to heat things up. And heat is a necessary thing for any chemical reaction to take place. So there's that. Um, but you've got to remember that you are exposed to different types of radiation at all times, and being outside at night is no protection. In fact, it's less protection. You're exposed more to the ionizing rays than you are to any of the other types of rays that are, you know. So there's that. If you're out at night, you're more exposed to ionizing cosmic radiation. Whereas in the sunlight, you feel the thermal radiation and it spurs your mind to get out of that thermal radiation. It's actually not smart to be outside at night without certain protective layers on for longer than 10 to 15 minutes. And that's just because of probabilities. Now, that's not saying that you're going to be totally safe if you're outside for 15, if you're under that 15 minutes. It's just where probabilities are concerned, you're less likely to actually experience um, cosmic and muonic radiation. Of course, you're saying, okay, well, you've been outside for 45 minutes, bro. I've been watching you on the thing here. Yeah, radiation isn't as bad as you think it is. It's in high doses and the ionizing form that it actually becomes extremely toxic to the human body. So there's that upside to look forward to at least. Don't have to worry about radiation unless somebody drops a nuke like literally right on your fucking doorstep. um, Now that we've climbed out of that rabbit hole, like I said, today's the Blitz. Uh, Lightning Thor's Day. Um, the next rabbit hole, the TR3B Astra, which, let's be honest, if we had something like the TR3B Astra, do you think for a second we'd still be operating F-22s? I mean, think about it for a second. Stealth, hypersonic, hover capability, large carrying capacity, supposedly. I mean, this is all supposedly still very classified stuff, but I mean, um, seriously, do you think we would still be operating F-22 Raptors if we had a TR-3B Astra? I mean, there'd be no reason for the Raptor, not with capabilities like that. I mean, let's be clear. The Air Force wanted to turn one of the SR-71 Blackbirds into the operational fighter bomber escort version, and I know that because of Hill Air Force Base. So there's that. For y'all that have been trying to get on here for the last whatevers, I have a really bad internet connection. My apologies. So, since we don't, and I can say this without a thought or miscomplacency in my mind, misplaced complacency. Okay, we'll put it that way. Misplaced complacency in my mind. Um, there is no TR3B Astra. There is something akin to that. I'm not supposed to give away secrets, though. That's state secrets. We've got something akin to it, but it's not a manned craft. And that's the most I can say. Most of you probably already know what that is, but there's that. So now that we've climbed out of that rabbit hole, man, we're starting to get all dirty with all this. Folks are jumping ship like crazy. Ah! Don't go conspiracy nut on me. Ah! Um, I'm not going conspiracy nut. I'm actually talking about what the United States military has confirmed or denied. Um, because a denial is as good as a confirmation for many military higher ups. And um, you can never trust a politician. So there's that. uh, so at this time, I can neither confirm nor deny that there is in the works a specialized drone operating system, which utilizes hypersonic stealth tech to relay a higher ordnance carrying capacity to target anywhere in the globe in 6 hours from base. Anywhere in the globe from a single base on the opposite side of the globe. We have plenty of bases. Anyhow, I'm not giving away any great state secrets there. Um, it's been spotted several times, and folks have got videography of it. Hell, I even got, I wouldn't call it footage of the actual plane because it went so fast that it literally split a seam in the atmosphere. And if you guys want to see that, that is WTF was that? Or what the hell was that? It's on the Guardsman Om channel. That's a video that's actually got footage of me showing that big old freaking seam in the air because you can hear, but by the time that that thing had flown over, I had my phone in my hand and I just finished recording a video. And so I picked it back up again to record, and by that time the plane was already gone. Like as in gone. The only thing that was left was the sound and that big old darkish blue hue of a scene going through the atmosphere. It was impressive to say the least. With capabilities like that, do you really want to piss on America's parade? I mean, that was some scary. I mean, and I know that that was an American craft because we've been developing it for years. Um, Not to toot my own horn too much, but I was a security guard in my younger years. Uh, actually involved with that project, so yeah, no, we can do some amazing shit. It's not the TR3B, and no, that's not a real designation. That's an internet designation. So there's that. Now that we've climbed out of that rabbit hole, man, I tell you what, I get all dusty in these rabbit holes. Need me some coffee. Mm. Mm. Oh, hit the spot. There we go. Not so dusty anymore. All right, Alice, what's next? Uh, well, let's see here. We mentioned it earlier. Do I really want to try and test that water? Uh, okay, let me just say this disclaimer real quick. This is not medical advice. I am not telling anybody that you should or should not do what I am telling you to do, or what I am saying in this next segment, because I'm sure to let something slip that's going to be certainly controversial. To my YouTube FBI agent, I am not attempting copyright infringement, nor am I attempting wrongful um, medical advice. I'm a very learned man, and I do have my opinions. These are opinions, not facts. Well, whether or not they are facts is still debatable. They are opinions, and they are opinions which are highly educated, coming from a long history and knowledge of virology and disease, personal as well as documented. So, without further ado, and that disclaimer out of the way, in early 2020, late 2019, several of the Chinese disease center practitioners at Wuhan, Chinese laboratories, Wuhan, China, were found to be having flu-like symptoms. And when I say several, there was probably two or three, maybe four. Not enough to raise alarm with some CDC practitioners, being that they are from out of country and therefore aren't fully educated in the Chinese set standards. However, in America, that would be appalling. If you're sick, you don't get to work in a CDC center. In fact, you get quarantined. That's the law. If you are a CDC worker, you have to go through quarantine. And that's because of the fact that you are working with deadly diseases, not just, your run of the mill every day. They come around, they go around, people get sick, they get better diseases. And common cold, um, recurrent Spanish flu. These are diseases we know, and as human beings, we have built up an immunity to. Um, but things like the newest diseases and the designer bugs, and I say this in air quotes because human beings don't really design shit when it comes to the viral world, the world of virology. We don't design anything. We kind of just put two things in a petri dish and then stand back and watch and hope for the best, crossing our fingers. And what we always get is the worst. So there's that. And imagine for a second that this small taste of knowledge that I have about virology and what these guys actually do, it comes from basically, getting one of those. As a kid, you go on field trips and you get to walk through the different government buildings and whatnot, and you have to stay behind certain areas because of certain things and deadly diseases and whatnot, and poisonous gases and dangerous nucleopeptides and dangerous nuclear radiation, depending on where you're at, the things that you're not supposed to be around or touch as a child. Well, anyways, I as a child I was like a sponge, and this is something I keep on telling people. Well, during my field trip to the CDC, and yes, we went on a field trip to the CDC, which there's a CDC outreach center in every state in the union, normally located in the capital of every state of the union, um, and in some smaller cities, never in countryside towns. Normally, that falls to the National Guard. Um, any Hoosiers, I digress. While walking through one of these CDC centers, we saw um, they had this wall of there was a bunch of specimens and specimen jars and whatnot, test subject specimens that they later embalmed and put in jars. Anyways, kind of a gruesome, grisly sight for children, but my mind saw a whole lot more. I saw blisters. I saw um, horrible deformations of the flesh. I saw birth defects. I saw just wow, uh, really a vomit-inducing, gut-wrenching, horrifying time. And when I was there, I was asking about these diseases and what their names were. And recently, I've been hearing these names, and I'm like, I remember that from something. And I remember these symptoms, but the names and the symptoms don't line up like they used to, something to that effect, and it bothered me. But anyways, um, walking through, and we saw this big old wall, and they called it. I think that if I remember correctly, they called it the Wall of Frankenstein, like some sort of a jab towards the book uh, I Am Frankenstein. Anyways, some of these things that I saw were disturbing. But then I realized and recognized that a lot of the diseases that have the more horrible um, outcomes were diseases that had been beaten by man, at least to that at that point in time. But then I started seeing those symptoms again, in today's now and day and age, and it rather scares me. I mean, back in I think it was 2017, getting into 2018, I was one of the people that, uh, rightly so, called the Ebola virus as being a rubella virus. Which, if anybody knows anything about rubella virus, the one of the side effects of getting rubella virus is a zombie-like state, normally caused by uh, too many virotoxins in the body, creating a comatose-like state followed shortly by delirium. and hyperviolence, hyperaggression. So, lo and behold, Ebola virus is outed as a rubella virus. This was a disease that was supposed to have been eradicated back in the 50s, and then in the 60s, and then in the 70s, and then in the 80s, and then in the 90s, and then in the 2000s, and then in 2010. It was supposed to be completely gone from the earth. We've beaten it. We beat rabies. It hasn't shown up again. Ah. Which is when I said, okay, well, this isn't going to be the end all and be all of it. This isn't going to be the last of it. We are certain, destined to see a recurrence of some seriously major diseases, which we thought eradicated. I wouldn't be so far as to go to say smallpox, because anybody who has had chickenpox and has the shingles virus, in their system is a similarly immune to smallpox and cowpox, funny enough. So you don't have to worry about that. What's up, Bug Out? What's up, brother? Shout out to Bug Out Bushido. An awesome guy. This guy right here, man, when it comes down to it, if I've got information, you think I've got information. This guy right here, man, he comes up on some of the most brilliant ideas just going and walking through life. Check him out, sub this guy. Bug Out Bushido. This guy right here is the shiznit. Anyways, as I was talking on virology, isn't it funny how every couple of years or so we get a new bug? And it's so often that it coincides with some controversial or even outlandishly foolish election, or the end of one for this last one. You'll notice that most epidemics, pandemics, what have you, um, they happen at times of high political unrest, almost as if they've been used to be targeted for at least the last 50 years. And certainly ever since we've utilized disease as a weapon as mankind, uh, there's a likelihood that it has coincided with some sort and form of political change that, going back as far as that, it's been associated with some form of political change to the point where you could almost directly state that this is directly correlated with this, this is directly correlated with that, and this is directly correlated with this, and not be far off. Now, for instance, Black Plague in the Middle Ages was tied to um, witchcraft, which at the time was politically and religiously um, ousted as being, something that people didn't want to be practiced. They didn't want to have witchcraft, well, witchcraft, better known as paganism, practiced in their midst. Um, and so they would take and levy harsh punishments And when I say harsh punishments, I mean first time offenders had their ears and their nose cut off, and people who would continue to pray to a different God than Jesus Christ would be burned at the stake or be uh, set upon a cucking stool until drowned. I mean, it was not a pretty time to be accused of witchcraft. And so politics ruled the day. What do we see now? Again, politics are ruling the day with this COVID-19 crap going on. And more often than not, it is politicized. It is not um, the actual numbers. Like if we could actually get down to the nitty gritty and be able to film what's going on and, get numbers for each day and whatnot and vet everything, do you think the numbers would be so high? And the death toll for that matter would be so high? I beg to differ. I beg I beg the logical, rational side of things that the death tolls would be much lower as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Because if everything was reliably reported, then we would have the gory details. So and so many died from bicycle accidents, and so many died from vehicular incidents, and so many died of suicides, and so died of homicide, and so died of natural causes, physical, and so died of natural causes, disease, and so died of natural causes, disease, pandemic. You see my point here. It's that we don't have reliable numbers to go off of. So who do we trust? And in all honesty, this is my personal experience, okay? So this is not medical advice by any means, but this is my personal experience. Being around sick people, having been sick a couple of times this year alone myself, but also having been sick throughout my history and throughout my life, every time that this season comes around, I start buying specific goods and items from the store because I know how to booster and bolster my immune system to be able to beat what is out there. And those specific items are yogurt, meat, orange juice, vegetables, cheese, beer. Believe it or don't, I don't drink beer all the time. A lot of the time in the summer, I don't really drink beer. It's too heavy for me. But when it's wintertide and it's cold out and my body is lacking in essential nutrients, which I can gain from hops, I drink beer. Also helps to relax my back and my neck from sitting so damn long. The, you know, they call this time of year the disease time of year because it has a chance to flourish. It has a chance to go around because your immune system is already attacked by being cold or colder. And so you notice your symptoms more. There's that too. During allergy seasons, you can't tell the difference between a cold and a flu and a freaking pollen allergy. And I'll be honest with you about that. I sure couldn't. Well, I can, but that's only because I know how to do diagnosis like uh, phlegm collagen coloration, um, and things like that. If you're pretty much healthy, your phlegm will either be white or clear, depending on how dehydrated you are. If you're unhealthy, you'll have yellow to green, sticky, thick, slick mucus. If you've been exposed but are not dealing with full-blown infection, you'll notice little tiny spots, little specks of yellow or green mucoids in your phlegm. And that's normally to do with things like pollen allergies and bacterial infections, in case you're wondering. Sometimes it can have to do with parasitic infection. But normally when you have a viral infection, what happens is you end up with what looks like to be the same symptom you would have from a full-blown bacterial infection, which is yellow or green, runny, slick, almost icky smelling phlegm, like a sickly smell to it. It puts a sickly kind of a flavor on the back of your throat, kind of like death. And for those of you who have seen combat and know what that smells like, or know what that taste on the back of your tongue is like, I am so sorry. I know your pain. Ugh. Hi. So on a much lighter note than the coof and all the crap like that. Imagine for a second that you are accused of something. Now, it may or may not be true. Nobody knows for certain because only you and the other person who is accusing you know what the actual facts are. And though try as you might, you may be thwarted in your attempts to speak and be heard. Well, all I can say is that you have to defend yourself and do so competently and truthfully. No matter how absurd the truth is, if it is found to be honest and the case, then it certainly should set you free. And I would hope that, these folks that are watching or listening or come over and shout out and say hi or whatever, I hope you all understand what I'm saying. Not everything that you hear, even from the horse's mouth, is 100% the testament. The testament is what the evidence provide. So I'm not going to try to go further than that on that particular level. But when you are in this community, you have to expect that you are going to be accused of certainly heinous ideals and fairly heinous crime. I mean, who were the first to deal with the brunt of being called baby killers and rapists? That would be the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps. The United States Navy? No, I don't think Navy set much foot on ground on shore and all that. There's not many Navy guys that end up that way, but there are a few, and they get dealt with. Um, and yeah, trust me, I would not put up with that shit if I was Navy either. Okay, but this is a very dangerous subject. It is a tiptoe through the tulips type subject because you don't know if you pull one of them bulbs if it's going to be attached to a bouncing Betty. So, um, well, I can say I do not personally approve of. Um, how would I put it without sounding like a freaking cop or an absolute douchebag? It's kind of one and the same in recent years, anyways. Um, but all right, here's my beliefs on it. Consensual sex with a minor is not consensual. It is coerced. Um, and coercion is not consent. If we're going to take a stance on 2A that, the many voters were coerced into voting in stupid ass laws or coerced in taking a back seat while stupid laws were, you know, written in and then enforced, well, then we are to blame. Pretty much in the same so. Now, I didn't stand back. I voiced openly and proudly that I do not consent and I would not enforce. Um, no, I'm not a cop. I'm a Minuteman, which means that I'm supposed to back up police officers when they are in the instance of doing their duties and doing them righteously in a dangerous environment. I am that second line of defense to be able to protect a police officer in the instance they need that provision of protection. At the same, I'm also there to protect the individual who's being arrested. It's a very tentative ground, much like this subject which I have broached. And I'll say, I don't care how much you think that it's okay. If it were my daughter, there would be one less mouth breather on this planet. Perhaps two. So there is that. I don't like thinking of any of that shit, but the reality is, I can't have children physically. And that's due to somebody utilizing the mental health field as a censorship platform, which I believe is wrong. But that's me. And so, I've been through a few things in my life that make it so that I can't have what I would like to have, the life I would like to lead, and the place I'd like to be, and what I would like to choose. So the choices left open to me is what I must pursue. Because if I do not pursue, then how can I call myself an American? That's the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of personal choice and independence that makes us Americans. I will do things my way. It will get the job done, but I will do things my way. Well, let's get rid of the old inhibition. I don't have any beer. So bear with me right quick while I pull out a nugget of green happiness. Cheerios. A good old green coffee. Uh, and a Hoosiers. Oh, when the world has gone to shit and all you can do is just sit back and go, well, fuck it. At least I'll die high. Oh, one of these days, it won't be just good music. It'll be good actions that make me have a good big old smile on my face. Until then, some strawberry, or no, what is it? Not strawberry, that's steel rider, steel woods. The steel woods, into the woods is what the song is called. Look that one up. That's a pretty good song right there. Hey, Bug Out. There's your favorite tool. Ah, yeah. I'm not talking on that subject. Fuck this. I'm just not gonna do it. And honestly, that's not, yeah, not a subject I want to think on. It works. Eel Fresnel lens, even through my truck. Watch this. This is going through my truck windshield. See what I'm saying? So yeah, a crazy ass thought that I had when I was younger. You could use one of these to start a fire. Now, I know what you're saying. Blaine, you're going too far down the rabbit hole. This is crazy. But hear me out. Fresnel lens in a higher climbs, okay? Uh higher latitude, we'll say. And a pipe. Doesn't matter whether it's tobacco or whether it's pot or it's, just regular old leaf litter. You take and you light it like that and puff through it. You don't necessarily have to take it into your lungs, but you take it into your mouth and spit out the smoke and sit there and puff through it and get an ember going. And then once you've got your ember going, you can dump that ember out onto your tinder. And there you go. Fire. So, food for thought. A pot pipe, not just paraphernalia. But right now it's just paraphernalia. Holy shit. Whoa. That's too much. I'm joking, of course. Take another hit. But no, so Blitz. Why Blitz? Well, it's a hail back to, both the Nazis' lightning war tactic. Okay, yes, sure. Um, but it's also a hail back to Thor because the German word for lightning is Blitz. And Thor is the name of the god which Thursday is named after. So I thought it'd be kind of quaint. As far as a blitz is concerned, we're looking at what may become one fairly shortly. If Biden can get enough guns away from all of you, and this is my prediction, and I say all of you because I don't have guns to take. I have air guns. So my firearms that I used to have all found their way to somebody else's hands, whether by hook or by crook, matters not. And I say that whether by hook or by crook, as in whether my dad hawked it or somebody stole them. My guns all kind of went the way of the dodo or were taken by our lubberly government. under color of law and were not returned to my possession after remedials and acquittals due to destructions laws, so called. And that's destruction without just compensation, by the way. Believe it or don't now, they're trying to come after my air guns with legalities. And they're doing so in a manner that could create harm to the rest of the community at large. Now, what do I mean by the rest of the community at large? Well, I'm saying that, say you have rabbits or chickens or ducks or sheep or goats or your own beef, or you have a rabid dog, or you have a raccoon problem, or, just the list can go on. You have a feral cat problem like we do in the state of California because everybody's got these viewings that you don't want to hurt. Unfortunately, it adds to the detriment of the wildlife to allow feral and invasive species to continue. Now, while many conservative states are showing an uptick in native wildlife, here in the state of California, we are showing fluctuating numbers, mostly on a downturn. And when I say fluctuating numbers mostly on a downturn, I mean pest animals numbers are in a fluctuation, an ever-standing fluctuation, because they're not considered pest animals for no reason. And wild cats do aid a lot on farmland in order to get rid of birds and rats and unwanted critters in that sense. They also aid to the destruction of crop by eating lizards and eating certain insectarian bird species. You got to remember, a cat does not distinguish between a pigeon and a woodpecker. They see no distinction. To them, it's moving and it's food. It's moving and it's meat, therefore it must be food. And they will make it so. um, while that's great, okay, in certain places for certain things. Like, for instance, you have a cattle grazing yard, you have a hayloft. Okay, well, both of those areas can be enclosed. You can give your cat a place to stay where it's got hidey holes and whatnot to hunt from, and it's also got a place to sleep, and it can be entirely enclosed. Therefore, the cat can't get out and cause, the local wildlife that does not stray stupidly into the cage harm. Awesome. If you haven't done this yet, consider it. Yes, cats are escape artists. They will find a way. I'm not arguing. What I am arguing is that when cats understand that this is their duty, this is their job, this is their place, they'll try to function within that. They're not an unintelligent species. Okay, they are an intelligent species, just like dogs. When they go feral, it's because they are too intelligent. Okay, And when I say too intelligent, it means that they have not been properly and appropriately trained to understand their niche in life. And while you might say, well, Blaine, you're wishy-washy, you're back and forth, some life forms can have, but some life forms can't. Well, yes and no, and there's a reason behind this, okay? All men are created as equals, meaning that we all come into this world completely innocent of everything and cannot harm a living creature for at least the first 15 years of life. We don't have that capability physically. But technologically, sure. Once you're the age of 8 years old, you have the technological capability and I'm certain the tools, to do so at discretion of your parents, of course. And when I say discretion of your parents, I mean that depends on the parent. If your mom or dad is a snowflake, I am very sorry for you. And I wish I could adopt you. Because I guarantee you, you would have a gun, you would have a knife, you would have a bow, and you would be taught the ways of the land. And then you would be taught, after you had learned the land, then you would be taught the books, and then I would ask you what your opinions were. And it's that kind of strict and structural upbringing that I had. My dad may have been a great man and a very loving man, a very passionate man. But one thing he was very adamant upon was survival. And I think it was one of those things that it was a wake up call to him having that blizzard in '96 that really woke him up and made him think, you know what? No, survival comes first. And heritage. Then you can worry about history, science, math, economics, all this other crap. First, learn who you are. Then, learn what you can do. Then, I want to hear about it. Now, crazy as it may sound, I don't have anybody on the live stream right now. It doesn't look like anyways, but think I care. So, anyways, there are some interesting rabbit holes to go down. But once you've gone down every rabbit hole and you've seen the ugly and the dirty at the bottom of them all, you can't come out except to get your fluffy little white tail a little bit dusty and muddy. And I have. As is quite apparent. When you dive down rabbit holes, you're going to end up getting dirty. Um, And to that effect, I got my hands dirty a couple of times. The ones I can talk about are mostly public record anyways, save for some minor details that I remember about the instance. But, as they say, hindsight is 20/20. And with a small measure and dose of humility, the truth can be. I try to talk truth no matter what. But even I'm liable to slip up due to memory loss or um, hypersensitivity. And we've all experienced hypersensitivity at some point in time or another. Um, that's when you're emotionally drained and you've got that thought process of, man, if one more motherfucker, I swear to God, you know? And we've all been through it, and I know we all have, because let me be clear how many times I've gone through that and just been like, oh my fuck. But the reality of it is that we all have control over that as well. All right. And these values, these little tidbits are taught to us by generations past. And it's up to us to teach generations future. And as long as we keep this chain rolling, there's one thing that's truth, and that is that that which is righteous will never be forgotten. I mean, let me put it this way. Have you forgotten that honey is sweet? That lemons are sour? That dill is a tangy herb, bitter when you first bite into it, but when pickled is very delicious. Um, do you not notice that the sky is blue and that, you know, life always finds a way? Now, deep philosophical aside, and all the deep dive aside, what would you value yourself? I'll tell you what I value myself as. A good friend, like the song says, a man steps on the gas to get there fast. Never think about what's in it for me, or it's way too far. And there's a reason behind it. And, this was something that was brought to my attention by a few folk. And I want to give a big old shout out and virtual hug to my cousin and friend, Tris. Brother, thank you for reality checking me because, in all honesty, there are very few people you can trust. And I mean really trust. Hell, I can count all them folks on one hand and I'd still have fingers left. You know, I try to be somebody worth trusting. And that's what I try to do. So even if I bring you wrong information, um, understand that I am doing it from a world of personal pain and strife and a willingness to make certain that nobody else has to go through that. I care about y'all. I try to be a trustworthy person. Good luck with that one, right? We all do stupid shit, and I'll be the first to admit, yeah, that was dumb. I'll also go on a fucking sideways tirade. Um, so there is that. Um, so I don't know, man. Tell me what you're thinking. Come on up, blitz the channel, blitz the panel. Let's get some convo on here. I know I'm bored. I know, I know. I'm Nail. Let's go. I'm Hammer. Let's go find a board and get nailed. No, it's what was it? I got lost. You know that place where Neil Armstrong went and Buzz Aldrin and all them before they went and got to the moon? You know, space, final frontier. I see nobody in my invites. This is not cool. Why do you not wish to come here? Are you afraid to be sure? Well, now, you know you make me wanna shout, throw my hand back and shout, throw my hands up and shout. Come on now. I'm joking while I'm smoking. By the mighty power of Waldir, I summon thee to the Blitz. It's a joke. Those of you who got it are fucking legendary. Hmm. Nothing like some good old Captain Black. Although, leaves one hell of a black excretion around the bowl. You're wondering what I'm looking for? I have a special tool for this. One, there's the other. Ah, hmm. It's made out of hardened wood, so I don't actually damage the wood. I just get the char off. Hmm. Well, now, sure is looking pretty again. Get the char out of it. So, woo woo, how are you? Sure, folks are at work right now, so y'all just stop to click and say hi or what have you. Probably come back later and watch. I covered all of most of the important stuff in the early half of this portion, early hour of this, all the rabbit holes, as it were. So, Alice, if you come on back now, we can have ourselves a chat about that, says the old Cheshire cat. Mm, yummy. Yes, in case you're wondering, that is a bicycle spoke. Whoa. Losing myself in the music in the moment here. Yeah, Eminem used to be good back in the day. Nowadays, I wonder, you know what? He did kind of go super lib. And when it all fell down, man, I was like, man, come on. Burns my balls, man. 'Cause you used to be one of them motherfucking hardcore bastards, you know? And the hard life and upbringing, I know that's what did it, but like, that's what everybody really verified with, man. So if you're wondering if Eminem ever watches this particular one, Mr. Mr. Shady Marshall, if you ever watch this, um, what everybody misses is you talking about better life, working towards better things, trying to make a better life for yourself and for Kaylee, or for Haley, Haley, and for all the rest, you know? So, yeah, if you ever see this and you watch this fucking long, man, that's what people miss. As for what I miss me that good old southern grind where every day is just another day, except for Saturdays and Sundays and sometimes Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Like I said, so I don't damage the bowl. Get the char out of the way. So, in case you were wondering the answer to the question, whether or not I was bullshitting when I said Antifa was figuring out how many squirrels it takes to screw in a light bulb, but they forgot how to get the peanut butter off. Um, the answer is one. Um, of course, that squirrel has to stay sufficiently determined to stay up on top long enough to get the light bulb screwed in. So, interesting experiment, I'll say the least. And to be certain, these are probably outlier results. They're probably results may vary. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. No, I was being serious when I said they were figuring out a way. And I still laugh at this because it's stupid as fuck. They're figuring out a way to have a squirrel screw in a light bulb. Turns out, having little nodules on the light bulb and peanut butter on the nodules and having them lick at the nodules and, and doing complicated shit actually got the squirrel to screw in the light bulb. Yeah. Um, the shit that you will waste your time on when you're bored, right? So on a much happier note, well, not sure if I would call it happier. Been kind of broke these last few weeks. The money has not been rolling in like it was. To be certain, I may have to use that lawyerly knowledge that I have Because I'm pretty sure I ain't got any more cash left. And I'm gonna have to go and figure out something for dinner tonight. Hmm. 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 Well, don't have any money. Have a quarter tank of gas in my truck. Herein lies my dilemma. Do I flout law or suggestory law and sustenance hunt, which supposedly is perfectly legal? Hmm. Although it's not the hunting season in the state of California, which would draw suspicion. Hunger will do incredible things to people. And the only reason why I'm thinking clearly right now is because I just ate the last of my grub steak for the week. So, well, for last week. So I'm mulling over my options here. As my old man used to say, if it'll float or sink a turd, it's probably worth eating. Well, that normally happens for me with me. I need to look into, honestly, figuring something out because pretty sure my wallet is dry. Uh, Something to figure out on a later date. Yep, we're still on the freaking quaternary. Waxing quaternary. Or no, waxing crescent? Yeah, waxing crescent. The moon is a waxing crescent tonight. Sorry, I had some ash on my screen. Well, better not be live streaming tonight if I'm going to actually set out to catch me something to eat. Of course, I'll, of course, check my accounts first, one last time before going out. I always do that. When I'm doing a sustenance, if I'm going to go and do a sustenance hunt, if I'm going to make that decision, I always check my checking account and my savings account first to make sure that I don't have any money that I could at least buy a singular meal for that night. I'd work a budget, plan a budget, sort of thing. I highly doubt I'm going to get out of here until late, so it'll probably be starlight. And utilizing my equipment, I certainly have the equipment necessary to make a ethical shot. However, herein lies a question. I mean, yeah, that's my right foot itching, so it'd be a path I'd already gone down. Uh, Questions of ethics. Hunt, don't hunt, shoot, don't shoot. You know, basic scenarios that every hunter is taught from a young age, most of us. Um, if you don't have money, and this is a harsh reality that a lot of people aren't willing to really look at in the face, but when it's staring you in the face, you can't really look away because hunger is, as they say, a hell of a motivator. Um, so in that sense and regard, um, I would certainly want to at least make an effort to be ethical, right? Trying not to piss off the neighbors, trying not to, well, you can't make everybody happy, but try not to piss off local law enforcement, or for that matter, federal law enforcement where you can. And under the laws of sustenance, a man may at any time, anywhere, utilize the rule of sustenance to hunt if that person is in, of course, need of sustenance and cannot otherwise provide. That's the clause here that I'm trying to put emphasis on, as far as ethics are concerned. Cannot otherwise provide. If you are, like me, an omnivore, you eat meat on a regular basis and you cannot otherwise provide said meat for yourself, and say hunting is the only way to go, bushmeat is legal in the United States as far as personal consumption. And sustenance hunting is legal as well. They try to put restrictions on the time when you may sustenance hunt, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not just a religious right. It's a heritage. Not it's a personal and national heritage. Um, Hunting for what you eat is the national heritage. So in the sense that you are no meat and no way of otherwise procuring said meat. And when I say that, utilizing monies to purchase butchered goods, um, then it is lawful to go and sustenance hunt. So I do need to look at my finances, like I said, and I will look at my finances. Um, but fair certain I'm run out of money. Plumb cold run out of money. This is normal for somebody who is, in my particular world of shit. Folks ask me what could I do for a job anymore, so I don't quite know. Um, I mean, yeah, I can run a chainsaw just fine, but I can't do it on somebody else's time. That's the big deal is can you work on someone else's time? And I can't work on someone else's time frame anymore. I just don't have that staying power, that keep up and go. Some would argue I've never had it, but I don't know about all that. As far as professions are concerned, where you work on your own time, um, I'm great with numbers, but I am metrodyslexic, which means that, like dyslexia, and accompanying my dyslexia, when I read numbers, they try to crawl around the page and do funny things to my eyes. When I write numbers, they come out more or less the way they're supposed to be. So, yes, I am metrodyslexic. So it's been a hell of a fight to learn mathematics, I tell you. I mean, I can understand it, sure, but it's just like everything wants to crawl around on the page on me. I get lost in a I get lost in a book easily. I'll focus down on a small paragraph or on a photograph or on, minute details and stuff instead of actually doing what's in front of me. And that's been that way my whole life, pretty much. So yeah, I do have a problem with numbers. Not in the, uh, uh, you know, are you perturbed by them? No, I'm not. It's in a working sense. I can't do calculations on someone else's time because when I do, inevitably I end up fucking it up. Um, it's the same with mechanical. If I do things on other people's time constraints, which are the norm, by the way, I end up fucking things up, hurting myself, breaking things that just can't be broken because I can't replace them. And so I don't work on other people's time constraints. I work on my own. And so it makes it very difficult for someone like me to get a job. And I'm a no nonsense person. I don't take anyone's bullshit if I'm not, if my work ethic is not up to your snuff and par, then too fucking bad. I will work until I am told you're fired. Um, or I'm letting you go, or, I no longer need your services, or, I'm laying you off, this, that, the other. I will work until I can't anymore. But I don't work at the same pace as everyone else. And that's why I can reflect the quality that I can with the tools that I have. That's because I spend more time on things. I look like I'm lost in contemplation when reality I'm doing advanced calculations in my head that would make your head spin if you weren't doing it on paper. And when somebody intervenes in the middle of me doing that, it makes my head spin. It literally does. It makes me dizzy. So I ask that people don't do that. But at the same time, I'm a dedicated worker. I'm a hard worker, and I put the same amount of dedication into my job as I do into any other walk of life. And that is to say that I give it my all, and I do so with a smile on my face and a happiness in my step. But I will not march to the beat of another's drum. Call it independence. Call it a rabid mindset. And fuck you for that, by the way. Um, but it is who I am. That's always been part of me. That strong, powerful person that I am stands with pride. And, I wear a beard, but don't let the beard fool you. A quarter of my ancestry is Cherokee. So when I say, the beard is, don't let the beard fool you, because my mom was heavy on the Italian and European and all that other, so I get a full beard. But my dad was predominantly Cherokee. It was so obvious that when he tanned, he didn't tan. He kind of crisped. He kind of turned like a darker shade of burnt umber. Any of y'all remember that color from the Crayola spectrum? It's like a muddy reddish brown. Anyways, yeah, he turned so dark out in the sun. And I avoid sunlight. I really do. I mean, this is the darkness that I've gotten today. It's kind of hard to tell now, but it's not white. Hell, even that's not white. My hands are yellow. But, like way up here on my arm where I never get any sunlight. And that's even yellowish here. Still got a yellowish tinge like olivine. Um, yeah, it's a trip. My heritage sometimes blows my mind. People have told me that I look like I'm Middle Eastern, and I think that that's all to do with the beard and the fact that I just like, why fucking shave, man? Trim a little bit here, I can eat through it. If God wanted me to be clean shaven, well, he'd have made me hairless, and I got a lot of hair. So there is that. Um, so as to the pertinent question, where do I go? What do I do from here? And how do I get there? Some very strong and amazing questions. Ones that, when you go deep down the rabbit holes and you finally come to a personal question of what, why, when, where, and how. Well, I'll leave it to you commentators down in the commentator section below. And tell me what you think about this. Bye bye. I am high. I'm joking. But yeah. Thanks and bye bye.